we are limiting ourselves to an amazing degree from experiencing what life has to offer, and often finding out that there are things that we like that we didn't realize we liked. Hi, this is Mike Balaban. Welcome to another episode of BAMMER Talks. Today, I'd like to discuss the whole issue of who we're attracted to, how they fall into certain types, and how that can limit us. Whenever you become an adult and start to date, you are initially attracted to certain types of people, if you're gay, to other men who often meet imprinting criteria that were recorded and factored into our psyches at early ages. In my case, I was raised in a family where my parents weren't very adept at parenting. I was the oldest child, and I ended up having to take care of my younger brother and sister. And for various reasons, for much of the rest of my life, I've felt most comfortable dealing with, interacting with, mentoring, dating younger men, often as little as 6 years apart, sometimes as much as 15. Now, I didn't know why that was. I just knew that that was the case. I also found myself, for reasons of always wanting what we don't perceive ourselves to be, as a young gay boy growing up who didn't feel very attractive and didn't think I could be myself, I was drawn mostly to the kind of all-American boy next door types, the really good-looking, masculine star of the football team or baseball team. And I wanted to be his best friend right from age 5 in kindergarten. And through much of my early life, those were the types of guys that I was drawn to, was attracted to, and tried to date. So when other people came along, I tended to eschew them. I tended to exclude them from my consideration. And let me just discuss what I think that comes down to. I think each of us knows what we like. We don't know about those patterns outside of what we like, the people that don't look like we normally date. How will I interact with that person? Will I find them attractive? And if I'm not, will I hurt them in rejecting them? So we end up kind of excluding them from our radar and looking for the same thing over and over. But when people tend to set a group of requirements, he has to be this tall, he has to be that age, he has to look like this, he has to have this color hair, no body hair, lots of body hair, not be overweight, for those who are chubby chasers, etc. When we do that, we are limiting ourselves to an amazing degree from experiencing what life has to offer, and often finding out that there are things that we like that we didn't realize we liked. So let me talk from my own experience. When I was 27 in 1979, I ended up getting involved with a guy who was almost 40. Now, I wasn't attracted to older men. He pursued me and eventually won me over. As I've discussed before in some of these episodes, it was the best sex I ever had. I'm not sure I was a great partner to him, but I learned to have look at people that I hadn't considered before as being possible partners. And so ever since then, when I see people who look like him or I see older guys, as long as they meet the other requirements that I have for being attractive and intelligent and honest, etc., age is not a factor that excludes someone. Then I got involved in my 40s with someone who I wasn't particularly physically attracted to. And it happened because he pursued me. And eventually I realized, this person wants to give to me in a way that I've never been given to before. And that's a really valuable, commodity. God, let me experience what that's like, being in a relationship where I'm not the giver, which tends to happen when you date younger men. And for various reasons, he didn't end up being the total giver that he had presented himself to be. But it was nonetheless a very valuable experience. And I began to realize on some level, without knowing what it was called, that I could respond to people who I wasn't initially attracted to when I developed a rapport and a chemistry with them. In other words, my demisexuality began to come out. And then I went in the late 90s, when I was 46 years old or so, to Tokyo. And I hadn't been attracted to Asian men. And lo and behold, I found myself interacting with and getting involved with a Korean-born Japanese guy. And I had a year relationship with him while I was there that I would not otherwise have had if I hadn't been open and been thrust into that environment. And now Asian men are within the realm of what I will consider. So my point is that when we open ourselves to those things that we are not historically attracted to and may have decided we didn't have an interest in, but just take a close look and maybe get involved on some level with men or women, if you are so attracted, who aren't like what you want them to be, you may discover characteristics, attributes, physical elements that in fact are extremely attractive to you, just never considered them before. So I hope when you're dating someone that you don't put a laundry list of what they have to fulfill in order to become an eligible contender for your attentions. I hope you are willing to look at the person itself. We always talk about look at the person, not the shell. But in reality, there's a combination of putting some basic requirements for what you need, which I think ought to be on some level you're attracted to them and they are honest and have good values and may have some intelligence to be able to deal with you. Other than that, everything else is fair game. I hope this makes sense. I hope you agree with it and it's working in your life as it has been in mine. This is Mike Balaban. Thank you for listening to another episode of BAMMER Talks.